This is Heart-repreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart. With your host, Terri Levine. Listen every week as Terri tackles the topics that will help you become a successful heart-centered entrepreneur. Be sure to read the blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com/blog. Come back often and add this show to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also follow Terri on Twitter at MentorTerri and on Facebook.com/Heart-repreneur Terri Levine. And now here's Terri.
Hello and welcome to Heart-repreneur Radio and TV show with Terri Levine. I'm your co-host, Phil McGallant, and as always, I'm excited to be here today. You can connect with Terri, me, and other like-minded heart-based business owners in the Heart-repreneurs with Terri Levine Facebook group, so go check it out. We'd love to hear what you're getting from these shows. So we'd love to have those likes, 5-star reviews, and we absolutely would love to hear your comments on what you're getting from our show. And don't forget to subscribe. Today's quote: "No person, no place, and no thing has any power over us, for we are the only thinkers in our mind. When we create peace and harmony and balance in our minds, we will find it in our lives." Louise Hay. Today's show topic is how to maintain harmony and balance in your life as a busy entrepreneur. Our special guest this week is Regina Andler. Regina is the founder and CEO of Ascent Consulting. She helps professional women over 40 create more harmony and balance in their lives, guaranteed using her proprietary Finding Me program. Regina is a certified Canfield Success Principles trainer, as well as being certified in Wholebeing Positive Psychology. She currently resides in New Hampshire with her husband Elliot and her 2 furry kids, Sid the crazy cat, and Ryder the over-anxious puppy. Welcome to the show, Regina.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
I'm excited to have you. I know we've had a couple of conversations together, and I love that you're focusing on entrepreneurs being able to maintain the harmony and balance in life. It is way too easy as an entrepreneur to get hung up in doing and getting things done and growing our businesses and, getting into activity. And so I love that you're teaching entrepreneurs and professionals how to maintain the harmony and balance in their lives. How did you get started in this?
Oh, for me, getting started in it was a long and arduous journey, as I was in that corporate world where I was just crazy and then doing and really never taking time for me. And then when I got out of corporate world, which was due to having to care for a parent, when I started going back in and I became an entrepreneur, I started my first business, which was actually completely different from what I'm doing now. It was a computer business. I went and I started that, and I found that all I was ever doing was working 24 hours a day. My brain was just working. And I went from, it was kind of feast or famine. I went from kind of a balance with the life. And then when I was in corporate world, where it was a little bit more on work. And then when I became an entrepreneur, all of a sudden, it was all about business. There was no balance anymore. There was no life anymore. It was, what do I do next? Every time somebody was speaking, my brain was on, what do I have to do tomorrow? Oh, don't forget to do this or whatever. And that, it becomes an overwhelming, overcoming feeling in you when all you're thinking of is work. And as entrepreneurs, whether you're new or you've had a business for a while, that's one of those pieces where we work at all the time, because a lot of people have a really hard time trying to find that balance, because you have this business and you're an entrepreneur, and that's great because you're becoming so successful at what you do and what you love to do. You went into business to do what you love to do. And then all of a sudden you lost a piece of your life because you're spending all the time on the business. And now there's a whole bunch of other stuff that is now has lost your attention because you're so focused on your business.
And I could only imagine what that was like when, I mean, you get the excitement and the passion of being your own boss and getting to control your time, and caring for family at the same time. That to me, like even just listening to that is to me a recipe for overwhelm. Exactly. And so how did you start to support yourself with retraining yourself away from always being busy to that balance or harmonic place?
Well, I think every one of us at some point, we have that breaking point. We have that point where we just stop and go, there has got to be something more to life than this. Is this all I'm doing? And that's when you finally come to the realization that something needs to change. And at that point in my life, when I got to that point, I just started looking for answers. I was like, where do I find this information? How do I become more balanced with my life and my work? How do I make it so that it's not 24/7 work and I'm adding some life into there as well? How do I build that balance and put it together? And that became a very interesting search. And I first started searching, as you know, and mentioned, I am Canfield certified. And Jack Canfield, for those who may not know who he is, he's the guy who he started out his life and his career with the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. So a lot of people who don't know Jack for his success principles, which is what I'm certified in, know him from Chicken Soup from the Soul. So that's Jack. And I always loved his information. So I instantly started seeking out, Jack courses. What does he have? And when I took my first few courses, I realized something about myself. And that was that I wasn't really taking control of my life. I was letting my life control me. I wasn't the one actually in control. So everybody and everything else that had to do with my business and, being an entrepreneur, I was letting that from the outside basically be what was controlling my life instead of me being the controller. Mm-hmm. So that was the first major aha moment where I said, you know what, this needs to change.
I really like what you shared there, because what I heard is first of all, your personal experience was that the parts of your life outside of you were the parts that were controlling your life. And I also heard you say something about adding a little bit of life in. And that sounded to me like the little bits of life were not the kind, that was not the ratio that you felt was going to be best for you. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was all about. When your business is, 95% of your life, and your life is that 5% that's left over, there's something wrong.
Right. So, so you went through, so you basically followed this journey yourself. The thing that you're supporting your clients with was you previous to engaging in your business. And what inspired you? Okay, so now I heard that you went into, you're certified with the Canfield success principles, but you added in there the Wholebeing Positive Psychology. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So when you start looking into what is going on in your life, think of the typical psychology that you learn if you've ever taken any kind of psychology in school, or just think about the stereotypical psychologist that you see on a TV show or something like that. There's somebody laying on a couch and they're saying, okay, what happened to you today? What's wrong now? That's how psychology typically works, is they look for what's going on and they focus on, here's everything that's bad. Okay, how are we going to fix it?
Mhm.
In positive psychology, I started learning about positive psychology as I was going through all of the different courses with Jack and then onto other mentors that are out there. And I started hearing these buzzwords of positive psychology. I was like, wow, what's that? And positive psychology is all about focusing on the good, which is exactly what I was looking for. And when you start focusing on everything that's good, instead of saying, okay, well, what went wrong today that we need to discuss? Instead of using that as the opening, it's the what went well today that we want to talk about. Let's make more of that. And so I completely enamored with the whole positive psychology because that was exactly what I was looking for.
Okay, so you're blending the success principles along with the positive psychology in your programs. I love what you shared about the positive psychology. When I was raising my son, one of the ways that I would end his day off is we'd be snuggling in bed and I'd be like, so what was the best part of your day? So I love hearing that because it kind of makes me feel good about some of the things that I was bringing into my son's life when he was little, and really in a lot of ways training my own brain at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, the more you focus on the positive, what I learned over my training to get me out of where I was, and now I'm helping others with getting out of the same thing that I was in, was two major things. The first aha moment was, instead of letting everybody else and everything else create my life, I learned that I am the creator of my life. Mm-hmm. And I needed to own that. And as soon as I began to own that and say, it's all about me. This is me. I'm in control. And it's how I respond to everything that's going on around me that makes the difference and makes the outcomes I'm looking for. And as I learned that was one of the things where positive psychology really came in, because I had realized that, I was one of those people that was focusing on everything that was wrong. Our brains are, from a psychology standpoint, actually, they tend to go towards the negative easier than they go towards the positive. Think of a newspaper or the evening news. If it bleeds, it leads. And that's why they do that, because they know it'll catch your attention. If there's something wrong, if there's some drama there, it catches people's attention. So we get kind of trained to focus on our drama and everything that's going wrong instead of focusing on everything that's going good. And when you kind of flip that and you start focusing on everything that's good, it's unbelievable the shift in your life. Not only are you in more control of your life, you know what to expect, you have more positive things coming to you on a regular basis. What you're attracting in becomes that much more positive. It's just amazing when you do that shift in life. And it's not always the easiest shift to make when you're so down in the muck and the mire of but I like it down here in my drama. It's interesting.
Yes, definitely. Well, and I think too, I've heard that part of that comes from, it's kind of, for lack of a better way, in our DNA. I mean, we have been trained to watch for problems because of, that, and that's where the fight or flight thing comes in. We need to be able to respond to danger. But our lives aren't dangerous like they used to be. So it's not serving us in the same way. And I know we always get what we focus on, we get more of what we focus on. So it makes total sense to me that we want to be retraining our brain to spend more time looking for what's right, what's working, and heading in the direction of our dreams rather than protecting from our phantom problems. And exactly. That's not to say all problems are phantom, but I think we make up more than we actually experience.
Well, it's like your typical fish story. The fish was really like this big, but you're telling everybody it was this big. And we emphasize the negative because it creates a quote unquote better story. Well, okay. what if you flip that and say, well, I have a really positive, great story, and I would rather focus on that and make that a big story.
Well, and that makes a lot of sense too, because when we're repeating something over and over again, it's kind of like zooming in on something, and yeah, it gets bigger in our vision, right? So I totally get that. That makes a lot of sense. So I want to pause for a commercial break right here, and get a chance for our sponsor to be able to share what's going on for them. And when we get back, Regina, I'd really love for you to share what is the best way for our listeners to get a hold of you.
Hey there, it's Terri Levine. I just wanted to pop in for just a moment as you're listening here to Heart-repreneur Radio and watching Heart-repreneur TV. We have so many new and exciting things going on. So you can watch a free masterclass. Highly recommend to get a conveyor belt of qualified prospects. That's at TL, like Terri Levine, tlwebinar.com. Head over there, enjoy it, keep listening and sharing the show.
Okay, welcome back to Heart-repreneur Radio and TV show. I'm your co-host, Velma Gallant, and we are here today with Regina Andler talking about maintaining harmony and balance in your life as a busy entrepreneur. And we've been talking a lot about positive psychology and being the creator of your life and actually owning being a creator. That was something you said before the break that really stuck out for me, was owning being a creator. And can you talk a little bit about what you mean by that?
Sure. It's one of the very first things, and it's actually one of the Canfield, it's the very first Canfield principle. And I use this for everything because I believe in this so strongly. Being the creator of your life means that you take 100% responsibility for your entire life. Everything in your life up to this moment and going forward, you have created. And a lot of people will tell me, well, I didn't create all the bad stuff. How did I create that? Well, somewhere or other, you created it, maybe by your choices, maybe by your responses to an event that happened. Somewhere you allowed it in. You allowed your reaction and your outcome because you didn't take 100% responsibility for yourself and own it. So when I say you're the creator of your life, that means you are the one actually pen and paper writing your story. You get to write it however you want to write it. And what we normally do is we've grown up just learning how to do things certain ways, and we fall into these patterns. And I'm sure I know you know very well about limiting beliefs. When we talk about limiting beliefs with people, we learn all this stuff as young children and we bring them with us as adults. And as we're writing our story, we're writing it and it's a tainted story. It's tainted based on all of these things that we've learned. And we just accept it for what it is. Even though we sit here and wonder, there's got to be something better, right? Even though we have that in our mind, we still go, yeah, but this is the way I do it. So I'm just going to keep doing it this way.
Well, and I really love what you shared there. I know with some people get a little bit punchy about the word responsibility and how we're responsible for the things that have occurred in our life up until this point. And I think there's a really good distinction in what you put there, is that a lot of our beliefs, which is how we base what we do, came from our childhood. So it's one of those things of you're not responsible for what happened to you while you were a child, but you are responsible for what you do with it as you grow into adulthood. And so while we may have been trained in the beliefs that we have, the responsibility comes in where, is that a belief that's really serving you? And do you still want to hang on to that? So that's kind of what I'm hearing from what you shared there. Does that connect to what you're saying?
That's exactly it. Because as the creator of your life, what we do is we get stuck in our existing story, whether we like the story or not. Have you ever heard or know anybody who's ever been in a bad relationship? And instead of leaving the relationship, they stay in the relationship because that's what they know. They know what to expect. It doesn't matter how bad it is. They know they know if there's going to be something, bad physically or mentally. They just know what to expect. So that becomes their comfort zone. I tell people all the time, comfort zone doesn't necessarily mean a place of comfort. It just means what you know. It's what you know and what you accept. It's not necessarily comfortable. Nobody's comfortable in a bad relationship, and yet they stay there anyways. Why do they do that? Because that's their story. And in their minds, they don't think that they're deserving or worthy of something better, even though they're out there looking at other people going, well, I know they've got something better. Is there really something better out there for me? And especially as an entrepreneur, women entrepreneurs out there, they're so focused on, making it with their business that other things in their story, in their life, start to take a hit because they just aren't paying attention to it anymore. And what they really need to learn, what everybody really needs to understand, that number one thing of that 100% responsibility, you're the creator. And that's great news. It's great to know that you're the creator, because if you don't like the story that you're in right now, if you really don't like the entire story, then hey, it's your book. Trash that last book and go just start a brand new book. Or you can just go start the next chapter, however you want it to look. You're the creator. You own it.
I really love that, because I know I have a multi-book life. And there have been times where it's like, you know what? It is really time to end this book and start a new one. And it felt more like ending a book and starting a new book rather than ending a chapter and starting a new chapter, because they were such transformational changes that I was choosing. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And so tell me a little bit about why you named your program Finding Me. Where did that come from?
Well, Finding Me, originally, the words Finding Me were all about, who do I want to be when I grow up? How do I find my balance in my life? It's all of those pieces of finding me. And the thing is I actually got some pushback from a few people on Finding Me. There are there are memes that go around in the social media world and such that say, finding me is not really true, because you're not actually lost. You know exactly where you are. And I would challenge that with some people. Yes. Do you physically know exactly where you are? Yes, you do. Mentally, have you figured out how to get from where you are to where you really want to be? If the answer to that is, well, no, I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm struggling trying to get from where I am to a better place. Maybe you're in that bad relationship and you want to get out of it and get into a good relationship, wherever it is, whatever it looks like. That's about finding me. And Finding Me is actually an acronym.
Okay. So I want you to share the acronym, but I have one quick comment on what you shared there that really resonated for me. And that is when you're talking about maintaining harmony and balance, and when we're looking for that harmony and balance, we're probably covered up with a little stuff that's not, our lives are not with balance. We might be filling our lives with the job or any other responsibilities that are coming in. And those responsibilities and choices and business actions and stuff like that, they kind of bury us. So I get the Finding Me, because it's funny. The visual that came in is I'm buried under a bunch of laundry. And so it's peeling away those layers of stuff that I've put on top of me to get to Finding Me. That's what I connected to in what you shared. So tell me what the acronym is for Finding Me.
So without going through every single letter, there's 9 letters, but it's a 10-week program. The 9 letters, it starts with focus and foundation, and then it goes into insight and introspection, and then notice and nurture. And it goes on into each one of the letters, and each one builds off of the last one in order to find out. It starts of where are you right now today, that focus and foundation. And then you start looking at, okay, let's create some visual around that. What does it look like for me? And where do I want to be? What do I want it to look like? I just want to throw in, when you talk about the balance is a subjective word. Mm-hmm. When people hear the word balance, they think everything, the scales, they're in perfect balance. Your life is never in 100% balance. There's always something going on. There's always something here. It's all about the mindset and how you choose. And you said this earlier, you said it, the perfect word is you get to choose how to respond to anything that's going on at any particular time, so that you can create that harmony and that balance for where it needs to be. Balance is going to shift. It's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, it's going to go down all through your life, because, life happens. It's how you choose to respond to it.
I really like that, because of course, when I'm thinking about balance, yes, the first thing that comes up is the scales, and you want to have the perfect balance. But what I'm hearing is we're finding the way to hold the aspects of our life and not have one of them completely tip over in there. There's something else that you said there that really made sense to me as well. And I think it really is a part of the finding me that I'm hearing that you support your clients with, is where are you today? And I think that's a really big part of that finding me, is finding where I am today, finding where I want to go tomorrow, and finding that path from here to there. And that's kind of what I'm hearing is what you're supporting your clients with, not only one-on-one, but also in your program. Is that accurate?
That's 100% accurate. So
okay.
When it comes to that finding me piece of it, it really all starts with where you are right now at this particular point in time. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, most people are pretty nervous and scared sometimes even about actually really understanding where they are. You'll get answers to, well, how are you right now? How is everything working right now? And you'll get it's okay. Okay, well, define okay for me. And as they start peeling those layers of the onion back, they're like, wow, there's a lot of room for improvement here, and this isn't really what I want. It's like, great, now we know where you are, because as soon as you have that starting point, think of a staircase. You just identified where you are on the staircase. So maybe you're at the bottom of the staircase. Maybe you're in the middle of the staircase and you want to go up higher. Depending on where you are, you have to identify where you are today so that you can go forward. What you want, what you don't want.
I love that. I like to use the analogy of a map. In order to get from New York to LA, I have to know I'm in New York, because I don't want to be pulling out a map from San Francisco to LA and thinking I'm going the right direction, because I'm not.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a journey. And so with the map analogy, it's a journey. So where are you with point A, and where do you want to go? And a lot of times in finding me, that's what we actually discover. Because some people are like, well, what is it that you want? I want more money. I want a better relationship. I want a better job. I want a bigger house. Whatever it is, there's all this really not tangible ideas of what you want. And the idea of finding me is, okay, well, what does that mean? And we break it down to small things. What does that look like to you? Because for you, your dream house may be very different from what my dream house is.
Right.
And it's unique to everybody. And so finding me and even finding your balance and harmony is really all about what works best for you. It has nothing to do. I don't teach people how to do something. I guide them to figure out what it is that they're actually looking for them. It's not for me to tell you what you want. You know what you want. It's more of a pulling it out and then defining it and then creating the inspired action that it takes to actually get you from your point A to your destination point B.
I really like that. And again, it ties to me for with the map analogy again is, because you were talking about defining it and getting more clarity. I mean, that's like me saying, well, I want to go to the West Coast and I end up in Alaska, but I really wanted to go to California because I didn't really define where it is that I wanted to go. So getting those details and helping your clients to actually get the clarity of what it really means, because West Coast is pretty broad and it got me to Alaska, and that's not where I really wanted to go. Absolutely not. It would be California.
And right. And so now you've made it to California, but California is also a really big state. So now where in California do you want to be? Now you've narrowed it down a little bit. Now let's refine it even more. Do you want to go to San Francisco? Do you want to go to Santa Cruz? Do you want to go to Los Angeles? Do you want to go to some other place in California? Do you not even want to be anywhere near the coast? Maybe you want to be inland a little bit more. Maybe you want to go see the Redwood Forest or something else in California. Now it's all about getting into that narrow focus of exactly what do you really want? And when you start defining what you really want, that's where the balance starts to come in, because now you're going around all of the different areas of your life and you're creating the actions and the goals that you need for each area of your life for where you want to be. And that's where the balance comes in. So now you're not just focusing on 100% work as an entrepreneur, or you're not focusing on 100% family and not focusing on work at all. The opposite can be just as true. So you could be 100% over this side and not over this side. And now that's off balance. That balance, again, it's more about getting them more even. It's not about getting them to stay here all the time and stay even. But, one side might be up a little higher, one side might be down a little lower. But you don't want them so far off that one is at 100% or 90% in the opposite way. That's when the overwhelm, the stress, all of that stuff comes in, because now you're so off balance.
Right. And I think that's where it's important, because when you talk about your work, it's bringing harmony and balance. And I think when we've got those things where, work is taking just a little bit more priority, or like in your experience where you're caring for your parents, family was taking just a little bit more priority. It's not 100% even. And I think that's what people think of as balance is even. It's not even, but there is harmony and there is balance there.
Correct.
So, Regina, this was absolutely amazing. I loved this conversation. I love the work that you're doing to support these professional women, and the blending of the various modalities that you brought into your work, I think is providing your clients with some really amazing work that they get to do for themselves. So I want you to, if you wouldn't mind sharing the best way for our listeners to get a hold of you.
Sure. The best way for getting hold of me is email, and I'm Regina@autumnascent.com. It's AUTUMNASCENT.com. And the reason I spelt that out is because I had somebody the other day who said, where I live, we don't have autumn, so I never have to spell it.
That's awesome. And they can find you on Facebook as well. Is that correct?
They can, at the Harmony and Balance Connection for Women group page.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom, Regina. I truly appreciate it. And I know our listeners absolutely got value from what you shared today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you to our listeners for coming and sharing your time with us. I'd love to hear what it is that you got of value from our time with Regina today. Please like, subscribe, and we always love those 5-star reviews. And don't forget to head on over to Facebook and check out Heart-repreneurs with Terri Levine Facebook group, and you'll be able to hang out with more heart-based business owners like myself, Terri, and Regina hangs out there too as well. Thank you and have an absolutely fantastic day.
You've been listening to Heart-repreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart with your host, Terri Levine. This show is produced every week for your enjoyment and education. To make sure you never miss a single show, add us to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also read Terri's latest blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com/blog or follow Terri on Twitter at MentorTerri and on Facebook.com/Heart-repreneur Terri Levine. Your questions and comments are always welcome and appreciated. Send them to Terri on either Facebook or Twitter. Thank you for listening.